Today, I'm going to present to you a PEST analysis of Mexico so that we might better understand the external factors that affect the country and further affect whether multinational companies should invest their business in their country, more specifically, my multinational company. So we'll start with the political climate of Mexico. Mexican President Lopez Obrador's government declared economic reforms as its priority when he entered office, including reforms of the legislation in the energy, financial, fiscal, and telecommunications sectors, along with an overall objective of a more equitable income distribution. More recently, however, the Mexican president has been criticized for not implementing a stimulus program that would be large enough to jumpstart their economic recovery and growth following the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, the president remains broadly popular in Mexico, mainly due to his pledges to reduce inequality. It'll be interesting to see how the next election will play out in July of 2024. Next, we'll talk about Mexico's economy. First, it's worth noting that Mexico is the second largest economy in Latin America and among the 15th largest in the world. According to the World Bank website, the Mexican economy grew by 3.1% in 2022 after a bounce back of 4.7% in 2021 and an 8% fall in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The economy has recovered its employment and gross domestic product to pre-pandemic levels at this point. Since 2021, there have been less than favorable strides made in the Mexican economy. According to the Index of Economic Freedom report, the rule of law in Mexico has been severely undercut by the violence and instability, which is mainly related to drug trafficking. There are grave institutional weaknesses, which include rampant corruption, poor protection of private property rights. The government has an extensive agenda to reform these deficiencies, but their progress has been slow, sluggish, a bit marginal. We now have the sociocultural part of our PEST analysis, where Mexico has seen a steady growth in their population in the 20th century, with roughly half of their population living in one of Mexico's 55 metropolitan towns. Mexico City is the most populous metropolitan town in the Western Hemisphere. The church plays an influential role in Mexican culture, as well as the concept of family and inclusiveness. An overwhelming majority of the Mexican population speaks Spanish. It's spoken by roughly 94% of the Mexican people. Mexican families have gender-specific roles. The father is the one who works and monetarily provides for the home, whereas women take care of the children and the household. Masculine pride is big. It is prominent in Mexican families, and they are the ones that make all the important decisions in the household. Lastly, we will take a look at technology. In July of 2020, the Mexican intellectual property laws, they received a major overhaul after the government enacted amendments to federal copyright and criminal laws. And that was following the approval of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. The amendments boast several reforms designed to create a robust regime for technological protection measures. But Mexico has tried in the past to create programs and strategies that would develop educational technology that works for all the students. Unfortunately, these strategies have pretty much failed. A report by the Public Education Secretary in Mexico mentioned that fewer than 40% of the student population can successfully pass a standardized achievement test. Even worse than that, fewer than 10% of the students have a basic understanding of mathematics. In 2016, more than 50% of the children live in poverty. Only 45% of the population owned or have used a computer, and only 50% have used a tablet or a smartphone. and only 51% of the students even have access to the internet. The United States and Mexico have celebrated 200 years of diplomatic relations, and those relations remain strong and vital. According to the State Department website, an estimated 1.6 million U.S. citizens live in Mexico, and Mexico is the top foreign destination for U.S. travelers. Mexico is friendly towards international business. In recent years, Mexico has been working hard to attract foreign investment that would enable its economy to grow, and these investments are paying off. Mexico is now the second largest destination for foreign direct investment in Latin America after Brazil. I know that we are fed a constant stream of negative news regarding Mexico through our various news feeds because, quite honestly, that's what makes for sensational headlines. Yes, there is a problem at the border, and yes, they deal with cartels and they have drugs coming from Mexico into the United States. But honestly, every country has its own set of problems, and that includes the United States. We are no different. So that brings us to the purpose of the PEST analysis. We're going to look beyond our news feeds, and we're going to decide for ourselves if Mexico is worth the investment. And after careful consideration and viewing the results of my PEST analysis, I have every indication that I should invest in Mexico for my multinational business, particularly if it's in the field of manufacturing.